The power of an experience. Hey, it's Gary, and I want to share with you a really cool epiphany that I experienced when I was about 8 years old, but didn't realize it until recently how powerful it is when it comes to creating experiences, especially if you do any kind of coaching or some type of retail sales. There's so many different ways to use it. So ultimately what we're getting at is if you can give your customer an incredible experience, an experience that they have never had before or better than your competition, you're going to be so much ahead of the game. So let me tell you how I created this idea of unbelievable experiences, not just an experience, but I'm talking about an unbelievable experience, an experience that the average person does not get to have. So I was about probably 8 years old, and my father was in the back seat. My uncle was in the left seat of his airplane, and I got to sit in the right seat, in the co-pilot seat. And at this time, we were flying over the Cayman Islands. And it was the coolest thing for me. It was the first time that I can recall ever being in an airplane. And I remember my uncle allowing me to push a couple buttons. I also remember I wish he'd let me push a lot more buttons, and I wish I was in that left seat. I want to be in the pilot seat. At that point, I was hook, line, and sinker, and I have been flying for decades since. But what it taught me was what an experience does to the human mind. When you see, feel, and touch, and you hear me say that a lot, like, when I'm doing coaching programs and I'm teaching people how to be better coaches and helping them create better experiences, what's the see, feel, and touch? And of course, you got, the scent and the taste as well. So here's where I took that incredible experience, because for me, wow, I got to fly the airplane and I got to push buttons. What a cool experience. What 8-year-old kid has got to do that? They're few and far between. Maybe you've had the opportunity to do that. It's kind of cool. All right, so I started in the jewelry business when I was 11 years old. I started a small business when I was 15. I got started into the jewelry business. And then as I got older, I was doing really well. I was doing like six figures. I was doing over $100,000 as a teenager in the jewelry business. And I came up with experiences. And I realized it was that experience that I was in the airplane with my uncle that he gave me the experience of touching the buttons and flying the airplane that was like absolutely amazing. So I figured out, okay, what can I do to give my customers in the jewelry business an incredible experience? Now listen to this, watch this. This experience is far beyond anything I bet you, if you've ever bought jewelry, that you've ever experienced, and you probably never have. All right, here's what I did. A guy would come in and he would want to purchase a ring because he's going to propose to his soon fiance, assuming she says yes. So I figured out, okay, how do we make that really special? I mean, really special. So here's what I came up with. I manufactured the jewelry. In other words, you would come into my jewelry store and you would tell me what you'd want, and I would literally create the jewelry. I would make your ring from scratch. We would melt the gold down in a crucible, and we would pour the gold into what we call a flask. Then we'd have a vacuum that would suck the gold into that flask, and the gold would run through the area where the ring was made and all that cool stuff. So I came up with this idea. I said, hey, how cool would it be if we got the guy to come in and let him melt the gold and have him have the experience of pouring the gold into the flask to help be a part of making his future fiance's ring. Boom, what a hit. Not to mention, back then we didn't really have a lot of video stuff, but we could video, which we did, video, not like we have the iPhones today and smartphones, and take photographs. So as the guy, it could be a girl too, whatever, but as the person was pouring the gold, we taught them how to do it. The torch was there. We'd have pictures of the torch being lit up and the fire was there. And they would heat the gold and you could see the gold all molten and liquidy. Then they would pour the gold into this flask, and literally 5 minutes or less later, we would pour this flask into water, and the cold water against the hot flask, it would just go and literally in a couple minutes, or a couple seconds I should say, what would we have? Boom! We would have that ring that we designed. Now it's not ready, it's not polished, it looks kind of ugly, and it's just not pretty yet. But then we would go ahead and have my jewelers or myself cut off the leftover gold at the bottom. And by the way, sometimes we'd allow people to bring in, sometimes they had old gold from, their mom or their grandfather or their grandmother, and we would melt that down, so they're now using some of their keepsake gold from their family and passing it through to the rest of the family. Really, really cool. It was a hit. And then, as you might know, I do the Beyond First Class Mastermind event. This is where we let people come with me. I put them in the jet. We go to Sandals Resorts in the Bahamas for the day. You have a day to pick my brain about, growing your business, anything that you need that will help you propel your life or your business to another level. So that's a cool experience in itself, but we take it to another level. We do video with you. Sometimes we'll put you in the cockpit, or depending on what we're using and what we're flying, etc., I'll put you in the co-pilot seat with me. Then we have the audio system wired into where you can plug it into your phone, and then you can listen to the air traffic controllers. You can listen in and make a video while I'm talking to you and you are talking to me. And then we interview. I'll interview you about your business and ask you questions about that. And then we take that and we put it on YouTube. I mean, all these little things. We do everything from when we land, we have the police light right there on the tarmac when we land the jet. And then once we land the jet, we go into a vehicle, Rolls Royce, whatever, and then they get a dignitary police escort. Talk about an experience. They see the police shut down the traffic. They shut down the traffic for us, and then we head over to Sandals Resorts, and we do breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we have all these incredible experiences. So my question to you is, how creative can you become by coming up with really cool, unusual experiences? So think about that. I sell jewelry. Years ago when I had the jewelry business, I sold jewelry. What kind of experience could I come up with? Wow, I let them actually come there. In fact, sometimes when it comes to repairing the gold, maybe they had a gold ring they wanted to repair, we'd let them come back there and be a part of that. Usually there wasn't enough profit in that, so having somebody schedule time to have the flask ready and melt the gold, there's a lot more involved in that, so we could charge a higher price. I had another company, I had a helicopter company. Here you go, just totally forgot about that one. Had a helicopter company where our slogan was, you're at the controls, you fly the helicopter. So we would let people be at the controls and get to fly a helicopter. For a lot of people, especially guys, they've always wondered, can I fly a helicopter? Because they've heard it takes hours to learn how to hover an helicopter. So we'd let you go fly the helicopter. Then we wired the helicopter with what? With cameras. So we'd have two cameras. We'd have one at this angle and one at this angle. And while we were flying around, we'd click the camera and change the cameras. So not on top of the fact that they loved the cool experience, we had video of their experience, and they would purchase that too. Make sure you figure out how to include incredible experiences. If you're doing masterminds, especially masterminds, I go to some masterminds and they think the experience is cool. It's no big deal other than, maybe you'll go on a yacht or have a nice fancy lunch or meet somebody cool. But there's so many ways to blow up the experience. So I want you to see how creative you can be. If you have done some kind of experience as a vendor to a customer, I'd love to see in your comments what cool, really neat thing do you do to give people incredible experiences. I could go on and on and on, and I'm just thinking about something, let's say you go to a skydiving place. That's the experience in itself, right? But that's not what I'm getting at. You got to go more than that. What could you do if you gave somebody an experience as a skydiving company? Is there something more that you could do? Because it's obvious that you're going to probably want a video. That's what every skydiving company does. I see. So you got to really, really be creative in your thinking. Anyway, I want you to be thinking about what can you do to create incredible experiences for your customers, and keep in mind what it does. It gets people to be so excited about you, they connect with you better, and then what do? They keep telling people how amazing the experience is. They come back, and so do their friends and colleagues come back. All right, there you have it. I would love to see, I've got a phone call I got to take. I don't know who it is, but I'm going to take it. Love to see your comments below. Between now and the next time we get to chat, you know what to do. Don't let anything or anyone rent space in your head. Have an awesome day.